every moment of every day. We sit back and we watch that moment become a memory. Now, as parents, it's a very fast cycle that, it starts with a daunting task. And you often question yourself, are you doing enough? Are you doing what's right? Can you do better? Over time, you begin to find confidence and you begin to find comfort in the process, and you begin to be okay mentally. And then, you get to that journey where some of them are leaving the home. And my oldest is graduating. And so now the daunting task begins again, and you continue to start to question yourself. Have you done enough? Is he or she prepared? Are you ready? And what's next? So it's an interesting feeling and emotion to work through. But each second of every day becomes a memory. And all we can do is continue to push forward. So I am primarily a Sony and Blackmagic shooter. So Sony bodies all over the place, and then Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K is my talking head, and I shoot with the Pixis as well. But for the very first time, I think after this past week that this may be my suggestion for anybody looking for their first camera going forward. And there's a lot of reasons for this. This is the Lumix S9. Full frame, 6K 30, open gate, small beast. This is great at photography, videography, and it can work in two very different instances: lifestyle and film cinematographer. And we're gonna talk about that today. First, shout out to Adorama for always being an amazing partner and sending this out for me to take with me to my son's graduation. I traveled over the weekend with this, and they sent this out to me literally overnight so that I could have it. So as always, Adorama really doesn't care about, if you buy this particular camera. They are one of the largest camera and gear stores in the country. And they, have everything that you need. I'll put the links in the description below for this. But as always, this is going to be an honest and transparent, buyer-friendly review. My goal is to give you enough information so that you can make an educated decision. And as I said, I shoot with Sony and Blackmagic, and now potentially I think I'm going to start shooting with Lumix as well, and we'll talk about that. So let's get into it. So here's one tidbit. The 5 lowest priced cameras on the market that have 6K open gate are all Lumix. Any under $2,000, they're all Lumix, right? And so with that being said, this isn't necessarily a camera for professionals, but it can be used by professionals. And that's what really has me excited about this camera. So let's talk a little bit about my experience with the camera and why I think this is going to be, going forward, the camera that I suggest to anyone that's thinking about getting started in either content creation or casual photography, or just having something that's better than an iPhone that doesn't cost too much, which is typically what people ask me. So let's jump into it. So let's talk a little bit about my philosophy when it comes to gear, tech, cameras, etc. that you're going to use, and why I would suggest something over another. Professionally, I am in operations. I'm a program manager in operations for a tech consulting company. And prior to that, I was operations leadership for one of the largest retailers in the world, $32 billion a quarter, and I own, processes and products, etc. And so the way that I look at products are, who is the product technically designed for, and how does it do within that particular niche? And then is there a secondary market for that product, and how does it support that particular niche compared to its competitors, right? And between the two. And that's why this camera is now super interesting to me. as I've said, I personally enjoy Sony and Blackmagic. Using this for the first time, coming from those two menu systems, which I think we all can agree that the Blackmagic menu system is the best on the market. The Sony menu system, depending on the person, is hit or miss. I really like it. Some people don't. This Lumix menu is very interesting, and not for the reasons that you would think right off the bat for me. But this is one of those rare products where it's kind of a lifestyle camera, right? In its essence, it's designed to give you fast media. So fast video, fast photography. It has built-in LUTs with the LUT button, allows you to add, for lack of better terms that most people understand, filters, not looks or lookup tables. But it adds filters right away so that you can produce content or pictures or video, MP4 light really fast to social media. And this has just recently gone through a renaissance where it has, it's updated firmware that came out back in March, removed the recording limits and different things like that. It increased, efficiency and all that stuff within this particular body. And so this camera, for all intents and purposes, is basically having a secondary life right now. There's new colors released. Anytime that you get gear that has colors and different colors and things like that, think more lifestyle and less professional. Now, that doesn't mean that this is limited to lifestyle, right? Lumix spared no expense when it comes to this particular camera, okay? This has 6K 30 open gate. It has anamorphic support. It has 4K 60 with a crop, which is interesting because you can do 6K 30, but that's interesting. But anyway, it has built-in LUT button so that you can select this button and move through your LUTs, or filters as most people are going to call it, really easily. The only thing this doesn't have is an EVF, which in my opinion, for the lifestyle creator, they may not actually be looking for an EVF. That's kind of a limitation of a professional. It's the L mount, so it's open to not only Lumix lenses, but it's also open to a plethora of third-party brands that are now operating in the L mount alliance. Viltrox, I think, is the really important one because I started my X mount system using Viltrox lenses, but also you have, brands like Aster Ori. This is a 50 millimeter lens that's really nice. I actually put this on my Pixus and this costs 68 bucks and it produces a really great picture. That's a manual lens. You have the TT Artisan F2 40 millimeter, which is rivaling the brand new Lumix 40 millimeter. And this shoots really well. It's autofocus, it's super small and compact and works really well. And daggone it, believe it or not, this weekend, I paired the Lumix S9 with the lens that you're looking at. Well, actually, yeah, the lens that you're looking at, but also these lenses, which are the DZO Arcana anamorphic 1.5x anamorphics. And so I'm doing a review on that. Again, shout out to Adorama for sending those out to me. But I paired those with this camera as well because of the anamorphic support. And so that brings me to the first market, which may be the lifestyle creator, the dad or mom or brother or uncle or sister or cousin or whatever, aunt that needs to record their family members and have really nice video that they can post and share and all of that different stuff, because this paired with the Lumix Lab app allows you to create and share really fast right on your phone from the app. You bring it right from the camera to your phone and then you can share it out, post it, whatever. But for somebody like myself that did a professional photography shoot this weekend, I was able to capture some behind the scenes. I was able to take some photos while I was out to dinner, like all type of stuff, right? This camera works for both groups. And I think that is amazing for, the two audiences that I think this camera supports. So how did it do, right? Let's talk about that. I'm not gonna continue to talk about specs and things like that because I want this video to be more focused on the camera and its use and where I think it shines the most. Now, I've used this over the last week and a half, traveling to Michigan, going to my cousin's house and hanging out with them and their baby and playing with their dogs and going to my son's graduation and visiting, with his extended family and his friends and the ceremony. I'm not going to share all of those things because some of those are super, super personal, but I thoroughly enjoyed the Lumix S9, right? It's not perfect, and this camera is freaking gorgeous. And when you think about the size of the camera, and you know, I took this in my Peter McKinnon 8-liter bag, which is always not far. I'm able to put this in there with all of the lenses that I just showed you in the one bag, and I can have basically a point and shoot setup with autofocus. I can have a manual setup for super sharp super sharp photos or video. It's manual. And then I can throw on an anamorphic with an adapter really fast. I also used it with my Sirui. I had to go get it. I also used it with my Sirui 24mm VP1. And the reason I wanted to point this one out is because this can be used for an E mount, an L mount, an RF mount, a Z mount as well, because it can change the mount on the back with that. If you're unfamiliar with that lens, I'll point you to a review on that. But that further tells you that this camera can be used, because you can go native L mount with that and put it on there. That further tells you that this camera sits between both of those particular worlds really well. And I want to say that I've seen a lot of reviews on the S9, and originally I didn't think it was a good camera, because the camera reviewers review this pretty negatively overall, in my opinion. They always focus on, oh, well, there's no EVF and the size and all of those particular things, and I think that's really valid if you are a professional photographer and videographer, or cinematographer, filmmaker, etc. But I think for the original intent of this particular camera, very much like their brand new Lumix L10, it wasn't designed for us at all. And I think a lot of reviewers got it wrong when it comes to the review for this particular camera, because I think we all focused on whether or not it was good for us within our workflows. Like, would this replace the Sony FX3? No, hell no. It's it's not that type of camera, right? It overheats, and you can't take it in the desert, and you can't put it in a super rig and all those different things. And it's just not going to perform at the level of a Sony FX3, a Nikon ZR, or a Canon C50, or any of those cameras that they're going to compare it to when it comes to like a professional filmmaking camera. But for under $2,000, there may not be a better camera than this. And I have the Sony FX30 and the Sony A7C II, and I really love the image that comes out of those cameras. I use them all the time. But when I think about everything that this camera can do at $1,300 with the L mount Alliance, which it's not as equal to the E mount, but it does give you the similar flexibility as the E mount. So for someone starting off brand new, this may be a really peak option for you. So where are the limitations for this camera, do I believe, right? One might be sports. If you are focusing on creating sports. Now, on the one hand, the open gate may be great for you to create footage. When I was shooting with sports, and you can let me know if you want to see a full review on this, but I did take this and shot basketball with this, and it did really well. But there was a slight delay on the screen and when you push the record button. So depending on the type of game, if you're a casual shooting your kid or shooting your cousin or nephew or boyfriend or girlfriend, or it might be perfect for all of those things. But if you're going to make highlights and stuff like that, you may want to look at something different. And the screen sucks. The screen is really bad. The screen is not super bright. It's small. The contrast, that's really small. And I did not enjoy the screen. It's not a horrible screen, but again, I shoot with so many different bodies that one was like, oh, that's not a good screen. But it doesn't necessarily mean that for someone that has not shot on all these other cameras that it's going to be bad. It's like looking at TVs at Best Buy, right? You don't know that this one is better than this one when you take it home. I don't know. I thoroughly enjoyed this camera. And if you have any other questions about this camera, the quality, put them in the comment section below, because I will be doing multiple videos on this. In fact, this video is going to be on both channels, because I definitely think that it's not just for professionals. I think that folks on my Gear and Tech channel as well can enjoy this camera, because that's more along the lines of content creation and being a creator and desk setups and all those different things. So let me know your thoughts. As always, if you enjoyed today's content and it's your first time, consider hitting that subscribe button below for both channels actually. And as always, stay cozy in that crazy world, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.